Explained by the Billy Meier contacts. Mysteries, myths, legends, conspiracy theories, historical inaccuracies, and more. Compiled by David Chance, revised October 18, 2023.
Saint Germain, Count of Saint Germain Theosophy. See also Ascended Masters. Contact Report 044.
Only this name here is known to me. This Saint Germain, a quite malicious person, who did many things deceitfully, supposedly in order also to fulfill dangerous things for the Freemasons, through which they in turn allegedly could seize control of the world, if not, as would be falsely asserted, order had been troubled for from the other side. Everything is naturally not correct. Rather, it is based on a pure invention of Freemason unfriendly elements. Saint Germain's real name is Rakoczy, whereby he also assigned himself other names as, for example, Aymar or Marquis de Bettemore, and so forth. The name Saint-Germain was only used by the adventurer in his self-appointed status as Count Saint-Germain. Born in the sign of Aries in the year 1711 in Colonia, you call it Cologne today, although a Portuguese origin was attributed to him. He died in the year 1784 at the age of 73 years. In his lifetime, he was the greatest deceiver, charlatan, liar, and spy, and indeed in the service and commission of a sect in Germany which was obsessed with world domination at that time. He passed himself off as being 1,000 years old, whereby, however, he was often got entangled in his own statements, and so differences of up to 300 years age variation came about. In and of himself, he was of quite low intelligence, which he, however, through his enormous cleverness, cunning, manual skill, and alchemistic knowledge, and so forth, could again offset and even attained extraordinarily good results in sleight of hand that he then passed off as magical powers. He was subsequently named a wonder man, and no one even suspected that he was the worst deceiver of his time. Only a European Christian sect was oriented about this, because he was indeed a man who stood in their service and who also thereby endeavored to take counts, princes and kings, as well as clergy and other dignitaries, into his power in order thereby to make them amenable to the sect, whose members sought, and thereby hoped, finally to realize their plans for world domination. Therefore, he also primarily concerned himself around the high society of France, which, in keeping with the plans of the sect, was to be the next land annexed by Germany, through which already the greatest part of Europe at that time was to stand under the sect's control. The initiates of the sect at the time quite consciously spun a fable-intertwined legend around Saint-Germain in order to have him to appear in the light of an immortal and a master, although he did not belong as a member of the sect at all, which did not hinder him, Saint-Germain, from portraying himself as master of the sect and therewith as an initiate. He knew very well to expand the legend spun about him by the sect and to provide enormous fame for himself. It was only thereby astonishing that the sect had actually included him in their plans in this form as an outsider. A fact that we, from our side, also could not clarify. He received quite personally, from King Frederick the Great, the awarded honorary title of an immortal, after which Saint-Germain implanted in him, with the power of his uncommonly high hypnotic capabilities, the notion that he, Saint-Germain, was already 2004 years old. Frederick the Great was himself not conscious of the employed hypnosis, and was of the belief that he had obtained this knowledge about the age of Saint-Germain through higher spirits, so also the knowledge thereby that the magician had an immortal-making elixir at his disposal that Saint-Germain also manufactured after a corresponding discussion with Frederick the Great. In truth, however, the mixture was an evil broth made out of various hallucinogenic poisons and drugs that called forth deep euphoria. Through the widespread sect, he was also privy to European history from which he retained any 50 small details with his truly phenomenal memory, with which he astounded and quite terrified them that he was the best connoisseur of history, and deluded them that he was, through this, all-knowing. Through his uncommon shrewdness and cunning, he reached also into the most intimate secrets of the various kings' families and of many other humans, that he then revealed again as secret knowledge, which often shifted the people into angst and terror, or allowed them to presume he had supernatural powers and capabilities. Many times he obtained such intimate secrets through secret dealings with female servants, who he paid off with material things of value and with bodily love, which was not a burden for him because, on the one hand, he had at his disposal very enormous material wealth, and on the other hand, he was very sexually potent. A favorite means of obtaining secrets was, however, his hypnotic capabilities that he especially brought into engagement with highly positioned personalities, especially females, and thereby unlocked the ultimate and most intimate secrets that he then, at a later point in time, revealed to them again, after he had taken the memory of the hypnosis from them. Thereby he appeared as a giant among all the magicians of the time. So it was no wonder that he was raised to the position of a real master. He occupied himself yet, however, with many kinds of other things, so, for example, also with diamonds and with other kinds of precious stones and minerals, etc. He could also produce fake gold, a chemical covering of metal that then behaved like gold. And the deceived people believed, in their delusion and ignorance, that he could manufacture gold. Also, he knew how to purify contaminated precious stones through his magic. These, however, he regularly retained for a longer time because he was not able to work on them himself. So he always brought them to a cousin in Holland, who then purified these precious stones for him, in that he ground off the cloudiness which existed in this material. He asserted, or did, yet many other quite secretive things. So, for example, also that he simply transmuted himself into invisibility, which was again, however, based on nothing other than his hypnotic powers, through which he let his observers live in the delusion that he had transmuted himself into invisibility. Also, he claimed to have often been in China. Yet also that did not correspond to the truth, because he never left the European area. When he explained again that he must now travel to China, then, in his journey, he went only to Berlin, where he had to give an account of his deeds and works in the stronghold of the sects, and where he then also received new orders. Very astonishingly, the sect alchemists instructed him also, in these times, in alchemistic matters whereby they rejuvenated him many times, also through their best means and through small and fine facial operations, whereby he also always awoke the impression that he did not age, but rather was constantly about 40 years old. This was brought about in Berlin in the stronghold of the sects of that time, but which no longer belonged to the actual mother sect. Rather, it was a splinter group that had established its seat there. The high seat of the real mother sect was namely in Vienna, and Saint-Germain also worked for that. So he worked for 4 different masters at the same time, namely for France, for Friedrich the Great in Germany, who was his best and most benevolent defender, for the splinter sect stronghold in Berlin, and for the actual mother sect stronghold in Vienna. As Saint-Germain died at the age of 73, his alleged immortality could only thereby be saved by the Berlin sect always, again and again, seeking suitable men who resembled the appearance of Saint-Germain. They performed fine face alteration operations on them so that they were even more like the deceiver. These men stepped into appearance then after his death to appear personally as Saint-Germain, after which they were instructed over long years by the sect members in all kinds of knowledge and abilities. Out of these splinter sectarians then developed, in the course of time, a fanatical religious sect that still today secretly drives its mischief and has also founded sister societies and so forth. But the founding sect has not, up to today, left off seeking out suitable men which they make compliant with horrendous amounts of money, and whose appearance resembles Saint-Germain's, and that they then changed and made into initiates through engagement of operations on the facial characteristics and through alchemistic and magical teachings, who are, however, in truth, only better conjurers, who they then allow to present themselves as Saint-Germain, and indeed until the current time.
Contact Report 055.
Saint-Germain, who in his present lifetime lives in Germany with a new personality as a simple fellow, although he bears the name Prince Roger de Pulaski, who became his characteristic through his birth in Bohemia. But he is still a deceiver, as you know from your acquaintance with him in Ammon and Bethlehem.
Girl, I want to see that guy again. He bartered my ex-bride Miriam away when I was locked up in Jordan.
Contact Report 440.
And to Saint-Germain, this occultist, alchemist, and adventurer, who also called himself the Count, died in 1784, which means he can neither wander the world again nor be channeled.